the only thing that people in the United States and politicians can agree about on immigration is that the system is broken.
I think it's gotten more broken, if that's possible, in the 30 years that I've been working on the issue.
The American dream is under siege. What was once a beacon of hope and opportunity has become a battleground as the very fabric of this nation is being irrevocably transformed. From the bustling streets of New York to the sun-drenched shores of California, a silent invasion is underway, one that threatens to upend the delicate balance that has long defined the United States. The numbers are staggering, and the implications are dire. Over 44 million immigrants have flooded the country in the past decade alone, rewriting the demographic landscape with breathtaking speed. But this is no mere statistical anomaly. It is a deliberate and orchestrated campaign to fundamentally alter the character of America, with consequences that could reverberate for generations to come. As job opportunities dwindle, wages stagnate, and resources strain under the weight of this unprecedented influx, the American people find themselves strangers in their own land. A 2023 survey found that Americans were more likely to say that they were dissatisfied with the level of immigration into the U.S., with 63% of Americans agreeing that immigration into the U.S. should be decreased in the future. This is more than a one-track conundrum. Some immigrants are feeling the strain, and nearly half are having a hard time meeting up with the necessities for survival. Only 47% of immigrants overall say they can pay their monthly bills and have money left over each month, while 4 in 10 or 37% say they are just able to pay their bills, and about 1 in 6 or 15% say they have difficulty paying their bills each month. According to Politico magazine, the higher cost of all the services provided to immigrants and the lower taxes they pay because they have lower earnings inevitably implies that on a year-to-year basis, immigration creates a fiscal hole of at least $50 billion. A burden that falls on the native population. The dreams of prosperity and security that once defined this nation now seem like a distant memory, replaced by a growing sense of unease and resentment toward the tidal wave of newcomers who have arrived on their shores. The very foundations of American society are being shaken and spurring a plethora of questions. In this video, we will delve into the root cause of these shifting sentiments and explore the broader implications for the future of the United States. We will examine how factors intertwine to create the current landscape of discontent and what this means for both longtime residents and new arrivals. Over the years, America has built an identity as a nation of immigrants, a melting pot where people from all corners could come to build a better life. But in recent years, the very idea of immigration has become a flashpoint, igniting fierce debates and exposing fault lines in the fabric of American society. To understand how we got here, we must first look to the past. Immigration has been a defining feature of the United States since its inception, from the first English settlers at Jamestown and Plymouth to the waves of Irish, Italian, and Eastern European immigrants in the 19th and early 20th centuries. America has always been a destination for those seeking a new start. For much of the country's history, immigration was relatively unrestricted. It wasn't until 1875 that the U.S. began to place limits on who could enter the country, starting with a ban on Asian immigrants. Quotas based on national origin were introduced in the 1920s, favoring Northern and Western European countries, while sharply limiting immigration from Asia, Africa, and Southern and Eastern Europe. These quotas remained in place until 1965, when the Hart-Celler Act abolished the national origin system and replaced it with a new set of priorities emphasizing family reunification and skilled labor. This marked a significant shift in U.S. immigration policy and set the stage for the demographic changes that would transform the country in the decades to come. Since 1965, the foreign-born population of the United States has quadrupled, rising from 9.6 million in 1970 to over 44.3 million in 2018, according to data from the U.S. Census Bureau. Immigrants now account for 13.7% of the total U.S. population, the highest level since the early 20th century. While the U.S. has long prided itself on being a nation of immigrants, this rapid demographic shift has not been without its challenges. In recent years, immigration has become an increasingly polarizing issue, with concerns about border security, job competition, and cultural assimilation fueling calls for tighter restrictions. One of the most pressing concerns has been the issue of illegal immigration. According to estimates from the Department of Homeland Security, there were 11.4 million unauthorized immigrants living in the U.S. as of January 2018, down from a peak of 12.2 million in 2007, but still a significant portion of the overall immigrant population. The presence of such a large undocumented population poses a number of challenges. For one, it represents a major security risk. Without going through the proper legal channels, there's no way to vet these individuals to ensure they do not pose a threat to public safety or national security. In an age of global terrorism and transnational crime, this is no small matter. There are also significant economic concerns. Many undocumented immigrants work in the informal economy, often in low-wage jobs that pay cash under the table. This not only deprives the government of tax revenue, but can also depress wages and working conditions for legal workers. Moreover, the cost of providing services to this population can be substantial. Undocumented immigrants are not eligible for most federal welfare benefits. Still, they use public services like schools, hospitals, and roads. In states with large undocumented populations like California and Texas, the fiscal burden can be significant. Beyond the economic and security concerns, there are also questions of fairness and the rule of law. For many Americans, the idea that someone can enter the country illegally and then benefit from its resources and opportunities is deeply troubling. It seems to reward those who break the rules while punishing those who follow them. At the same time, the issue of how to deal with those already in the country illegally is a thorny one. Many undocumented immigrants have put down roots in the U.S., starting families and building lives. The thought of uprooting and deporting millions of people, many of whom have known no other home, is both logistically daunting and morally fraught. The challenges of illegal immigration have been compounded in recent years by a surge in migrants at the southern border. In the 2022 fiscal year, U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported a record 2.76 million encounters with migrants, up 1.96 million in 2021 and just over 450,000 in 2020. This surge has overwhelmed border facilities and strained the resources of local communities. Makeshift camps have sprung up in border towns as migrants await processing or try to cross into the U.S. undetected. In some cases, local authorities have declared states of emergency to deal with the influx. The reasons behind this surge are complex and multifaceted. Poverty, violence, and political instability in Central America are major drivers, as are the effects of climate change on the region's agricultural economy. The COVID-19 pandemic also played a role as economic downturns and policy changes prompted more people to risk the journey north. Regardless of the causes, the effects have been profound. The images of overcrowded detention facilities and migrant caravans have become political flashpoints, fueling calls for tougher border security and stricter immigration enforcement. Another major challenge surrounding current immigration is the issue of language and integration. According to data from the U.S. Census Bureau, over 67 million people in the United States spoke a language other than English at home in 2018. While linguistic diversity can be a strength, it can also pose challenges to social cohesion and economic mobility. Immigrants who don't speak English may struggle to find work, navigate the healthcare system, or engage with their children's schools. Language barriers can also lead to social isolation and hinder full participation in civic life. A majority, 55% of working immigrants who speak English less than very well, rising to 61% of Hispanic immigrants with limited English proficiency, report experiencing at least one form of workplace discrimination. Moreover, the concentration of non-English speakers in certain areas can strain local resources. Schools may need to invest in English as a second language or ESL programs, while hospitals and government agencies may need to hire interpreters and translate materials. In some cases, this has led to backlash from English-speaking residents who feel that their needs are being overlooked. The issue of language ties into the broader question of assimilation and integration. While America prides itself on its diversity, there's also an expectation that immigrants will adapt to American culture and values. This can be a difficult and sometimes painful process, especially for those coming from very different cultural backgrounds. There are concerns that some immigrant communities are not integrating as fully as they might, instead forming insular enclaves where English is rarely spoken and American norms are not always followed. This has led to to fears about the fragmentation of American society and the erosion of a shared national identity. In recent years, the concept of sanctuary cities has become a major flashpoint in the debate over immigration in the United States. These are cities, counties, or states that have policies in place to limit their cooperation with federal immigration authorities, typically by refusing to hold undocumented immigrants in local jails on behalf of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, or by prohibiting local officials from inquiring about an individual's immigration status. As of December 2023, the Center for Immigration Studies had identified more than 170 sanctuary cities and counties in the U.S. Supporters of sanctuary policies argue that they are necessary to build trust between immigrant communities and local law enforcement, ensuring that undocumented residents feel safe reporting crimes and accessing public services. They also argue that this is not the responsibility of local authorities to enforce federal immigration law, and that doing so can stretch local resources and undermine public safety. However, critics argue that sanctuary policies effectively shield undocumented immigrants from the consequences of illegal entry and encourage further illegal immigration. They point to cases where undocumented immigrants released by sanctuary jurisdictions have gone on to commit serious crimes, arguing that these tragedies could have been prevented with greater cooperation between local and federal authorities. Beyond the debate over public safety, sanctuary cities are also grappling with the practical challenges of accommodating larger immigrant populations. Many of these cities have seen significant influxes of immigrants in recent years, both legal and undocumented, and are struggling to keep up with the demand for services. Healthcare is one challenge. Undocumented immigrants are not eligible for most government health benefits, but they still need and seek care, often in emergency rooms. A 2019 study by the UCLA Center for Health Policy Research found that nearly 60% of undocumented adults in California lack health insurance. In Los Angeles County, the Department of Health Services provides care to nearly 900,000 low-income and uninsured residents, many of whom are undocumented immigrants. This has led to longer wait times and strained county hospital and clinic resources. Similar challenges can be seen in other sanctuary cities across the country. In New York City, which is home to an estimated 500,000 undocumented immigrants, the public school system has seen a significant increase in English language learners. According to data from the New York City Department of Education, English language learners make up 13.2% of the student population, or about 142,000 students. This has required additional funding for ESL programs and support services. Despite these challenges, many sanctuary cities remain committed to their policies, arguing that they are necessary to build trust between immigrant communities and local authorities. However, as the number of immigrants in these cities continues to grow, so too will the pressure on local resources and services. Addressing these challenges will require a concerted effort from local, state, and federal officials, as well as a broader conversation about the role of immigration in American society. As the final waves of this human tsunami crash against the shores of America, the future hangs in the balance. The essence of this nation, its values, culture, and identity is being swept away, replaced by an alien and unsettling vision. The America we once knew is slipping through the fingers of its leaders, and in its place rises a specter of chaos, division, and the erosion of everything that once made this country great. If you like this video, hit the like button and help us spread the word. And don't forget to subscribe to get notifications on our latest news and analysis. In the meantime, check out one of these videos here to learn more. Thanks for watching.